What's up guys, Andre here, and today I'd like to show you the basics of building desktop apps with Electron. Electron is built by GitHub and is a framework for building native desktop applications using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're probably already using an app built with Electron. Some example apps on my computer are VS Code, which we'll be using here, Atom, Slack, and Insomnia, which is my REST client. So we'll start off by making a Hello World app, and then we'll build out a mini clone of Reddit. Here's the finished product here. So I built out this app in previous videos where I was looking at mobile frameworks, and I figured it'd be a good fit for a desktop application as well. So it just pulls from the Reddit API from the AWW subreddit, and you can click on it and it shows the image. We'll also take a look at things that are specific to desktop apps, like the menu bar. So we have a menu bar up here and a settings window, which just opens up a new window. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be following this writing your first Electron app article, which is found in the Electron documentation. So let's start off by opening up your terminal and just making a directory. I'm going to call it Electron example, and let's go into that. And then I'm just going to do npm init -y, and that's just going to make a package JSON file. And now I'm just going to npm install Electron. And let's open this up in VS Code. Okay, so let's change a few things in package.json. So let's change the main script to be main.js. And then let's change this script to be start. And let's change it to Electron dot. So it opens up Electron in the current folder. Okay. And let's go back to the docs. So we did all this already. So let's take a look at this file right here, which we'll paste into main.js. So it's just doing some scaffolding out, like it's loading the index.html file, which we'll create as well. And let's go ahead and copy this. It's copied. Let's make a main.js. Let's go ahead and make an index as well, index.html. Okay, let's go back into main, paste it in here, and save that. And let's grab the index.html from here. Copy that, index.html, paste that in. And now we can just do an npm start, and that should be our hello world. And there it is. So as you can see, it opened up DevTools, and we have the contents of Hello World showing up in here. I mean, of index.html showing up in our app. So I'm going to turn off the console, the DevTools opening up automatically. So right here, we can just comment this line out, stop it, run it again. And there you go. If you want to bring up DevTools, just hit Command-Alt-I, just like in Chrome. Cool. And as you expect, if we change some contents of this, this should auto reload. No, you got to refresh it. Or you have to restart it again, actually. Oh, sorry, that was the title. So yeah, that did work. And it does auto refresh. So if we change this, okay, you gotta manually refresh it actually. So just like with any web application, we can use CSS in here. So if you just do a style tag, just like in web. So body, background, red, color, white. That should change that. You can put it in an external CSS file if you want, and that will work just fine. And as you expect, a script tag down here. This will work too. So let's just console log hello and refresh that. Open up DevTools, and there it is right there. And you can put it in an external file too, if you like. But for this demo, I'm just going to stick it in here, just so I'm not switching back between two different files. Okay, so let's go ahead and start building out this Reddit clone. So I'm going to use Bootstrap just so it's faster with the styling. So I'm just going to import it from a CDN. And I'm just going to put some padding on the body. So 24 is good. And see how that looks. Okay, looks fine. So let's see how to use, I just want a Bootstrap list item. I just want a list of things which we'll eventually use for the list of Reddit posts that we're going to grab. So I want this. So it's just a list group flush. Let me just copy this. Put it in here. So we can just get rid of all of this. And all of this is just web stuff. And later on, we'll take a look at stuff related to desktop applications. But I just want to quickly make this Reddit clone. So let's see how that looks. Okay, it looks pretty decent. So I also want the cursor to be a pointer. So let me just target that. List group item cursor pointer. And I also want a hover effect. So hover, this group item hover, background color. Let's just make it a light gray. So let's see how that looks. Cool. And I want the list items to have two children. So one for the image, which will be circular, and then the title. So we have to make the list item a flex container, and then we want that flex container to have two items. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna do this. Let's do it for the first one because we're gonna loop over it eventually. So we'll keep this. In Bootstrap, we can specify deflex to make it a flex container. We also want align items center. And I'm just going to paste in the flex items in here. So it's just an image tag, and this is just hard-coded for now. And I gave it a class of thumbnail because we're going to style that as well. And then the other one is just the title. And for the thumbnail, we're just going to give it a width, a height, and make it a circle. So width of 60 pixels, height of 60, border radius of 30, and a margin right of 16. All right, let's see how that looks. And it's going to be the first one. So that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and grab the posts from Reddit. So I'm going to use Axios. So again, this is all just web stuff. So let's just stop this, npm install Axios. And let me start that up again. And let's go ahead and start pulling from the Reddit API. Let's first import Axios. So you can't use the ES6 import syntax because Electron is using Node under the hood, and you can't do that in Node as of this recording. So we have to use the require syntax. Axios. And I think the convention for Electron is no semicolons, so I will try to stick to that. So if you're not familiar with how to use the Reddit API, you just go to any subreddit. In our case, it's going to be AWW. And here's the normal subreddit. But if you append .json to that, you will get all that information in JSON format. So here's that. This is the information for this, for everything you see here. So let's go ahead and make an AJAX call. So axios.get https reddit.com/r/aw.json. Then we're going to get a response. And then what do we want to do? So I'm just going to console log. So the thing we're interested in is the posts. And I've already looked at the JSON that comes back. And I know that the posts are stored in here. Response.data.children. So let's go ahead and see if we're getting the posts. So let's refresh that, open DevTools, and there we go. We have an array, and this looks like it is correct. And yeah, it is cool. I'm going to skip the, actually, let me just put it in, the error, catching error. Let me just console log error. Okay. So we want to store this in a variable. So let's store it in a variable called posts, which we will define up here. Let posts equals an empty array. Again, no semicolon. And now we want to render these posts into this UL after the promise resolves. So let's call a method called render posts, and let's pass in the posts. Okay, so let's go ahead and make that. I have no structure for the JavaScript here, so it's going to get a bit messy. So just bear with me. Function render posts. So what are we going to do here? We have to iterate over each item in the posts array. So posts.forEach. Okay, let me just erase that. So posts.forEach element. And we're just going to want to append to this UL. So I'm going to put an ID on this just so I can grab it easily. Let's call it posts. And let's just do document.get element by ID posts dot inner HTML equals, again, this is really messy, so I'm just going to get whatever's there already and I want to append to it. So I'm going to use template strings here, and we want to append something like this. So I'm just going to grab this and paste that in and give it some indentation. Okay, so the source is going to be, I'm going to replace this with a variable. The variable is, so it's going to be element. So again, I already looked at the JSON coming back, and I know that I'm looking at this specific field. And for the title, let's just grab this and do element.data.title. And yeah, if I did that right, then that should render out the posts from Reddit. So let me restart my, did I start it? Yeah, it's right here. Okay. So did that work? Yeah, so it did work. So we don't need this stuff anymore because this is just hard-coded. But here is all the titles and the images from that AWW subreddit. Okay, so let me just get rid of the hard-coded data since we don't need that anymore. Give that another try. Refresh this. And there we go. Cool. We can change this hello world in the title change this to Reddit clone for all. Cool. Okay, so now we want to click on this and we want to show a full res image here. So that means we have to add an event listener for each of these items. So we can go ahead and do that right after we render right here. So after this, we can do this, that add event listeners. And we will define that function right here. Function add event listeners. Okay, cool. And I just want to grab each one of these list group items and add an event handler to them. So let's do query selector all, and I'm going to grab list group item, and then I'm going to do for each element, and then let's do element.add event listener. Let's listen for click, and another function here, and I'm going to make another function in here, and I'm not going to use an arrow function because I need the context of this later on, so I'm just going to use a normal function. And for now, I'm just going to console log clicked. So let's check if this worked. Let's open DevTools and let's just see if this click works. Okay, cool, it does. Okay, so we want to open a new window here. So how do we do that? So let's go ahead and make a new image window, new browser window, and let's give it a width of 500 and a height of 500. So if you look in here in the main.js, we have something similar when we're creating the main app window. So it's a similar process here. But let's not forget, we need to import this up here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to need a few more things. I'm going to need this remote library from, sorry, I'm too used to the ES6 way of importing. So require Electron. And I'm going to need browser window from that remote. So that should let us use browser window. And just some cleanup here. Similar to this, again, I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to paste that in here. So it's this image window, and we don't need this stuff. And I think it's close, and maybe both work, I don't know, but I have close in the project that I made already. So now we want to just load another file up. So load URL, and we need file, and we want to append, dir name, and then we want to append, let's call it image.html. And let's just show that image window.show. So let's go ahead and make a new one here called image.html. Let's just scaffold out an image placeholder. So let's say image goes here, save that. And yeah, let's see if this works. So let's go back to here, save, refresh this, and see if, there you go. So we have that new window opening. And now we have to pass a reference to the high quality image into this window. So there are a few ways to do this, but I'm just going to do it via query strings. So up here where we're rendering out the thumbnail, let's also add an attribute here. So let's call it data image that stores a reference to the higher quality image. So the higher quality image is, we can pass in this, but this is a low quality image. But the higher quality image is stored. So here, again, just look at the JSON coming back if you want to see where this is coming from. But it's data element, data preview images. Grab the first one, source URL. And that will be passed in as an attribute here. And now when we're opening this window, we want to add a query string. So I'm going to do this plus, and we do this dot get attribute, and it's called data image is what we named it. Okay, let's see if that still works. We're not showing it yet, but we're passing it in. Just want to see if it still works. Okay, it does. Now from this window, we just want to grab the query string and then render out the image like we would normally do. So how do we do that? So in image, let's just make a script here. And let's do URL params equals new URL search params. And we can just do location dot search. And then the image we want is URL params dot get image. We don't need to put the data dash. This will do it for us. Oh, actually, because no, I passed it in as image. Yeah, I just passed it in as, sorry, yeah, I forgot to pass it in here. So image is the query string name, and we're getting it here. And now we can just do document dot body dot inner HTML equals, let's give it a query string, a template string. Let's just do image source equals alt equals image. And let's just do image. And that should do it. I don't need this anymore. And let's see if this works. I'm gonna close this, refresh this. Let's click on one. And some of them don't work because they are maybe like a high quality GIF image that a normal image can't handle, but I don't think this is working at all. Yeah, I think I forgot to put an equal sign right here. Let's try this again. Refresh. And there we go. So yeah, it's a really big image. So let me just put a max width in the style here. Oops. So let's do image max width 100%. See if that helps. So there you go. There is the high-res image being passed through to our new window. Cool. Again, some of them don't work because they are high-quality GIFs, which can be rendered in a normal image tag. Cool. Okay, so all of that was just specific to web. And now I want to take a look at a few things that are specific to desktop applications. So the first thing is the menu. So obviously the menu is different from Mac and Windows, but they are similar in a way. But since I'm on a Mac, we'll take a look at how to do it on a Mac. So as you can see, there is a default menu in here if you don't specify one. So let's go ahead and make our own. Just going to index.html. I am going to import menu up here. And right here, I'm just gonna call another function, init menu, and then we'll do the work in there. So let's make a function wherever this one ends. Function init menu. And let's go ahead and work here. Okay, so we are going to make a new variable called menu. We're going to do menu build from template. And this is going to get an array of objects. Let's do that. And then an object like this. So let's just look at a basic menu for now, and we'll build on top of that. So the label is going to be, let's just make one called file. And then to specify the items you want, so this is going to be the label here, file, and then the sub menu is the items within that menu. So let's get one called sub menu. And let's just make another array of objects. And let's make one called new window. Let's make another one called like settings maybe. And let's make one called quit. Okay. See if that works. Actually, no. So now we have to just use that menu. So we do menu.set application menu. Okay. And let's see if that works. So there you go. Okay. So you see we have this one item and we have the correct menu items, but it's not specifying the file we used here. So this is specific to Mac. Whatever the first one is it's going to use the name of the app. So this doesn't really matter for Mac, but we'll keep it like that. So if you want like a separator here, we can easily do that. So we just do type, and we'll call it separator. And now there should be a separator, fresh. I might have to restart. Okay, so you see a line in between these two, cool. So if you want to add more menu items, you just go ahead and continue to do so in here. So just make another object. Let's call it edit. And then for the submenu, just make another array and just do label menu item 1 and just put a few in here. And that should do it. See if that works. Again, I have to restart. And there you go. There's edit, menu item 1, 2, 3. And since it sees edit, it adds these default ones in here. So I think that's specific to Mac as well. I'm not sure. Now let's take a look at shortcut keys. There are usually shortcut keys associated with some of these. So quit on Mac is usually Command Q. Settings on Mac is usually Command comma. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So start with settings. Let's put this on its own line. And all we have to do is set a property called accelerator. And for this one specifically, command or control plus comma. And put a comma here. And let's put one in for quit as well. So I'm just going to copy this and do the same here. And this is command or control plus Q. And that should do it. Let me just stop this, start that, and let's take a look. And there we go. We have the shortcut keys in place. And now we want to click it and actually do something. So how do we add an event handler for menu items? So all we have to do is set the event handler here, in this case click, and let's just do an arrow function. It's just console log for now. Settings clicked. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to stop it, restart it. And I think I have an error. Yes, I need a comma. Stop, start. And let's open up DevTools here. Okay, so it won't open up DevTools. I think that's because I changed the menu. So let's go ahead and go back here and let's open up DevTools by default. Let's try it again. And do settings. Okay, so it works, cool. Okay, now I want to have an actual settings page show up when we click it, and also when we hit that shortcut key. So it's similar to what we have here, but this one actually opens up a new window every time you click something. So I don't want that. I just want one window for the settings. So let's go ahead and go into our main.js, and let's just make a new one here. So let's call settings, and let's call this one settings, and let's make it a bit smaller. Let's do 400. And then just duplicate this. Settings, load file. Let's call it settings HTML. Let's make it right now. Settings.html. Just do that. Settings. And we're not going to put anything in here. Obviously, if this were real, you'd scaffold this out. And we don't want this. And we want this as well. Just paste that in. Change the settings. Okay, so I think that's it. So now there's two windows, so I'm expecting two windows to open when I start this app. Okay, that's correct. So let's change that so this one doesn't show up initially. So here we can specify show false. Actually, before I do that, I want to show you, you can set the parent. So if you do that, then the child window sort of moves around with the parent. So right now, you can move this wherever. But if we set a parent, then they sort of move together, which is what I want. And let's not show it initially. Let's try that again. Oops, npm start. Okay, cool. So now we want to toggle this on or off if we hit settings. So how are we going to do that? To do that, we need to make use of global events, which is called an IPC renderer in Electron. So let me just show you what I mean. So in main.js, let's just import IPC main, which is what we need to listen for global events. So IPC main. And then all the way at the bottom, let's just IPC main dot on. So we're going to listen for an event called toggle settings, which we will fire from here in this, no, not from here, from here, right here. We'll fire from here, but we'll listen to it here. And when that happens, we just want to run an arrow function. And we just want to check if our settings window, remember we have the settings variable, which is the window from up here. So if it's going to do a ternary here, so is visible, If it's visible, then hide it. But if it's not visible, then show it. Okay, so we have our event listener set up. Now we just have to fire that. So let's go back into our index. And first we have to import IPC renderer from Electron. So renderer. And then down here, we can just, sorry, where did I console log? Right here. Let me just take this out. Actually. And then we can do IPC renderer. Now we're just firing that event. So I called it toggle settings, and you can pass in a payload here if you like as a second argument, but we don't need to in our case. We just need to know that the event fired. And if I did that correctly, then that should work. Let me just restart it. Okay, so let me see if I do this. And there you go. And now if I hit Command comma, there you go, that works too. So we successfully have a settings window opening and closing, and we have it events listening as well and firing. Cool. So there you have it, guys. We've managed to look at the basics of Electron to build out this Reddit clone desktop application. As you can see, it's very easy to use and a great choice if you plan to make a desktop app. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.